Hi everyone, Dheeraj. Today we're going to blog about this Kerala model. Adir Satya undo, adir future undo, is there a 2.0 of this model? Those are the things that we want to look at. So talking about development, right? Most people talk about GDP and per capita income, which are economic indicators, not social indicators. So United Nations have come up with 17 sustainable developmental goals, and every nation tracks it. India tracks it. So how do we rank? How is Kerala ranking among other states? The simple answer is number one, right? Which is good, but it's not to say that it's like top of the world, right? It's in comparison with a lot of other states, which in many cases are doing bad. But we do really well in a few areas like reducing poverty, access to health, access to education, and gender parity in education, gender parity in wages, road connectivity, and two modern metrics which I really like is 111 internet subscribers per 100. 111 internet subscribers and 121 mobile connections. But those are great, full coverage on Aadhaar, access to basic facilities. These are things that we do well. So there is definitely a concept called Kerala model where a lot of social developmental goals are met or in good place. Not to say that everything is great. Some things like crime against women, crime against children, unemployment rate, especially unemployment rate among women, number of courts per population, waste collection, waste processing, alternate energy. These are things which we don't really do well. What I really want to cover today is when we see stuff like this, when we see, like, for example, in education, state of Kerala has done better than many other places in India and the world. How did it happen, right? It's not like it just magically happened automatically, right? So it's careful public policy. So I listened to one of Barack Obama's speech where he talked about public policy as like guiding a massive ship. So he was making a point that when you move that ship like 1 degree to the left or right, the impact is not seen like tomorrow or day after 1 year. It's when you see like 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, you end up in a dramatically different place from where you started and from where you were heading. So that is the impact of public policy. So let's take education. How did we get here? We are in a good place in primary education. How did that happen? Let's go back, way back. 1817. Rani Gauri Parvati Bai in 1817, not even 1817, came up with this proclamation on education, which assumed that the state will have a right or a goal in educating its citizens. Even some of the Western countries, budding democracies and liberal societies hadn't taken the responsibility to educate their citizens. So back then, this tiny state took an ownership in educating their citizens. The practical implications was on primary schools, they will have 2 teachers paid for by the state, right? Which is what then eventually turned out to be these aided schools, such as private schools run by private management, but state actually paying for the salaries of the teachers. So that is 1817, and the impact of that revolutionized primary education in Kerala. Fast forward another 100 plus years, Sri Chitra Tirunal Rajavarma, establishment of Travancore University, which then turned out to be Kerala University. Simply, you can just say that Sri Chitra Tirunal established what is called Travancore University, but it was just not that simple. It just was not like, hey, here it is, let's just make a university and voila, there is Travancore University. The idea was first floated in 1917 by Raja Varma, based on the fact that there's a Mysore University and the Nizam of Hyderabad came up with the university. So he came up with this idea of Malayalam സംസാരിക്കുന്ന ആളുകൾക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് കേരള നാട്ടിലൊരു യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റി വേണം. 1917. First commission was formed. അത് പല political പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ വന്ന് didn't work out. Then a second commission happened in the 1920s. But practically when it came about, there is like you have to bring existing colleges from like Cochin and also a little bit from Madras and all together. About alignment. The second commission also turned out to be a failure. Then came the new king, which is Sri Chitra Tirunal. Then the new Diwan came, Sir CP, and they revived this idea and they put forward a third commission to study the feasibility of Travancore University. So our proposal on the turned out to be super expensive. But still, finally, there was more momentum came up with. Then government said, yes, fine, we'll figure out a way to fund this program, but we need approvals. Our point, Madras University turned against it. Madras University went to the British Education Secretary in Delhi and basically said that this, because they were worried about the loss of financial revenues to the Madras University, because Korea University is ingottu varunnalla, but they came up with some other reasons and they blocked this proposal. Pinne Keralathil the delegation went to Delhi. They had a lot of discussions. Then Sir CP had a good connection with his counterpart in Madras. C. Rajagopalachari, they had to iron out some differences, and finally in 1937 Travancore University was formed, right? So it's not like these are hard-fought decisions that the state implemented, immediately changed the trajectory of higher education in the state. 1939 College of Engineering Trivandrum was formed. So landmark decision. Role of community organizations like missionaries. Church at some point had a policy that school for every church. That had a significant impact, followed by other organizations, SNDP, NSS, and Muslim organization, heavy investment into education, dramatically changing the scope of education in Kerala. 1958, first communist EMS ministry, and the first education minister, Joseph Mundasheri, came up with the landmark Kerala State Education Bill. And after thinking these aided schools had become mushroomed all over the state, and there was no uniformity, there's a lot of chaos. So there was proposals to standardize syllabus, standardize teacher wages, established an eligibility panel for teachers, so you just cannot appoint anyone as a teacher, compulsory primary education, concepts around Uchakanya and Sarangal, but ran into significant opposition, and some say even led to the actual dismissal of the first government, not only this bill, but this and land reforms. But the ideas survived, and then the subsequent government implemented most of those proposals with slight amendments, and even now it is considered to be one of the most far-reaching, well-thought-out state economic plan which defined primary and higher secondary education in the state. Let's go much forward. 2001, my lifetime. Privatization of professional education in Kerala, right? First engineering college in 1937, 3 more engineering colleges in the 50s, first government. Then there's nothing. There was nothing till like 1980s. And then slow development of new engineering colleges. 2001, privatization of professional engineering colleges. 50 new engineering colleges were formed, 5-0 from 2001 to 2004. Major decision. So, last decade, last 10, 15, for 5 to 10 years, digitization of education, right? So we saw the benefit, schools going online with the COVID shutdown. So we're just starting to see the benefits of this policy around implementing digital programs and high-tech equipment in school. It's going to be great going forward. So the point of all of this is, it takes policies, it takes a lot of vision and forward thinking to come to a place where when we say we are number one in access to education, in access, gender parity in education, and this thing, so it just doesn't happen automatically. The same thing happens in health, this thing. So these require like a lot of policy initiatives to happen in. So the key question in front of us, what is the version 2.0? Is that a version 2.0 of Kerala? It's Kerala model, right? So government says they have a mission to transform Kerala into a knowledge economy. It's a great vision. So now we have to think about, okay, how do we tap into artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, life sciences, biotechnology? But when I look at CET coursework, I just looked at it this morning, looked at coursework for College of Engineering for sure. We still have electrical, electronics, civil, mechanical, computer, probably just one more, that's it. Right? We got involved. So decisions have to be made to change those and adopt to be the leaders of the future. Chronic unemployment. Women in India and in Kerala, half of them, 1 out of 2, leave their professional careers within 5 years. So within 5 years, half of them just leave their job. So that we need to bring them back, right? So the work from home policies, and then for friendly working policies and stuff, and way to get women back into the workforce, that will reduce chronic unemployment among women and actually grow the GDP of the state. Alternate energy. We are awfully behind in solar and wind and battery technology and things like that. Innovation society, we're putting some emphasis into it, but that needs education, that needs capital, that needs access to capital. So credit policies, lending policies, financial institutions have to change, and a lot more thought has to go into that. So the question before us, elections coming up, another election, we're going to decide again. ആ സമയത്ത് നമുക്ക് ആലോചിക്കേണ്ടത് not only the current affairs and things, but who's going to fix the problems of the past, safety issues, unemployment, low growth, and who has the vision to lead from the front. Think about 1817, educational bill, that was leading from the front. So do we have the policies and do we have leaders with policies that are designed to lead from the front in education, health, innovation, governance, climate, safety, security? That's what we need to look at. And hopefully, as you look at through and wade through all the candidates and all the information and stuff like that, there'll be some thought and energy given into looking into some of this. Hopefully, I added something to the discussion, and continue to like and subscribe, and we'll do more of these. Thank you very much.